Hey guys, it's Mr. Farrell. So this is going to be our video about CER. So if you were in class, we went over this. If you missed the day, so like my Monday kids, you guys weren't able to go through this with me, or my online kids, this is some help on the CERs. So CERs you guys should be familiar with them because if you did ADI labs in 8th grade, you did something similar to a CER. So when you did the whiteboards and the argumentation for ADI, that's similar because you have the claim, which is we still have a claim, you have evidence, we still have evidence. It's just what's different is the justification on the whiteboard. We call it reasoning for a CER. So let me click into here and I'll kind of go over this real quick. So this graph should look familiar. This is a graph that we had from last week for I notice, I wonder, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. So we're going to focus on just the C and the E this week. We're going to kind of make sure we're okay with those before we get into the R, because the R is a little challenging. So I think if we understand the C and the E and we're pros on that, I think learning the R will be a little bit easier later down the road. All right, so a claim. Let's start with the C, the claim. So a claim is basically just the answer to a question. So we got to have some sort of question that we're going to ask. And the question that I asked here is, which waste stream would you predict to be the most recycled in 2020? So you're going to have to use the graph to help you answer that question. So you look at the graph, and if you say, oh, I think yard trimmings is going to be the most recycled, or I think paper or metals, whatever you think the answer is, that's what your claim is going to be. So I gave you guys an example sentence, and you can just fill in the blank, or if you want to type your own thing new, that's perfectly fine too. But we'll say something along the lines of, I predict the most recycled waste in 2020 would be, and then you would put metals, yard trimmings, whatever you think it would be. Now notice we're asking about 2020, so there's not a 2020 here. So it's a little bit different than just reading the graph for this question. You're having to make a prediction. So 2020 would be out here. So you're thinking, okay, what would it look like out here somewhere? So that's the claim. Now the evidence, the best way to describe the evidence is the why. So if I said, I think paper products would be the most recycled, well, why did you say that? And we need to base it off of our graph, off of our data that we have. This is our data that we have. So when we do an experiment, we're going to have to base it off of our data or our evidence from our experiment. So you may say something, you may say something about how the lines what direction the lines are moving. You might say, well, this was the most recycled in this year, or whatever it may be. And one thing that I would make sure that you say on the evidence, if you notice, I put a bigger blank. Bigger blank means it's not just one word. It's more of a sentence or two, maybe even 3 sentences, depending on how much you're going to go into detail. But I would suggest you go into detail. Think about this being something that you're saying to somebody. So if pretend that you were telling me why you thought this would be. If whatever you say, if you mention, I think this is on the top, or this line's going this direction, whatever, and if you use multiple reasons, mention all those reasons, put down there. Most people that I'm telling, when we're looking at their claims, I'm telling them you need to add a little bit more. So don't be afraid to add more there. I don't think I've seen anybody who's added too much there. So I hope that helps. If you guys have questions, don't forget you guys can log on to Google Meet on Friday and from 10 to 10:30. And if you need help, we can kind of walk you through this. So I hope this helps, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.